What's up, guys? It's Chris. Happy Friday. It is Crown Down Friday today. We haven't done that in a while. We definitely didn't do it in January because January was sober and that sucked, but it's February, so Crown Down Friday. Guys, this is not our base right here. This is the Herman Motia gaming desk, yada yada, whatever. This is $1,295. One finger, a little bit of blowing. $1,300. That's what that gets you. I mean, let's go into a little bit of the details because everyone says, oh, you didn't assemble it right, you did something wrong. Toph, let's take it down below. Dude, look at this. You got a 90-degree plate. You got no form of like crossbar. You don't even have them connecting. And then look at this when we move this. Look at this column play. You can hear it. Like the glides aren't right, you know, there's nothing, there's no bolts for us not to tighten down properly. I mean, everything is tight. It's just, this is a really poor design. And this is what happens when COVID happens and you get all those big manufacturers that sell to commercial companies that have professional installers that they need to figure out how to sell to end users and think you guys are all dumb. The fact is, you're not dumb. Some of you guys might be a little bit limited on your tools and your, you know, what you want to do, you know, how much time you want to spend installing it. But this is what $1,300 gets you when you go, you know, when you're a Herman Miller fanboy or somebody else thinking, oh, they don't do anything wrong. They did do something wrong. They did it with this. So again, you guys, just fingers can do that. This is our Vertex Pro. This Vertex Pro is a little bit different. There's a lot of new things we want to show on this. The fact that it's two-colored. We just threw an extra top on it today. This was just some extra stuff we had laying around, and we're just blown away by how damn stable it is. I mean, same. I'll try to do it with one finger, but I'm not gonna really be able to get this to move like at all. Like I'm not doing that. I'm not wasting more crown. But this is our Vertex Pro. This thing's a damn tank. But there's like some quirks. It's not the easiest thing to assemble. So, you know, I understand when, you know, bigger companies go, hey, you end users, you know, they're able to drill into some things, but they're not able to do some complex, I wouldn't even call it complex, just, you know, that for us to assemble maybe took 20 minutes. This for us to assemble maybe took 30 minutes, 45 minutes, wire management, things like that. You know, they have people out there that are paid way more money than us that make those decisions, but at the end of the day, we believe users will spend that extra 30 minutes to have like a way superior base. So our Vertex Pro, this is our mid-range, same stroke length, same stroke length as this, same height range, all that jazz. You know, roughly $1,300. Just our base right here is $1,400 bucks. It's like, you know, with a programmable switch, it's you know, $1,380. Throw a 30 by 60 laminate top on it, that's $300 bucks. You know, you're almost close to $1,700. But you know, factor in your time, guys. Like, you know, whatever your profession is, you know, if you're working behind a desk all day, if you're a graphic designer, you know, anything. Like, if you value your time, imagine buying this, waiting 2 weeks, 3 weeks, whatever, for the freight truck to show up, just to assemble it in 20 minutes. You know, let's face it, actually, you know, a first-time person, this is probably an hour-long assembly. You got to deal with the boxes, you got to deal with all this stuff, only to realize that you're never going to use it at standing height because it moves like this. Then you got to return it, and then, you know, all these other things, and then you go, hey, you found us, or you found somebody else that you want to try this time, and you finally buy that, and it works out for you. But how much time did you just waste? So, like, what's the value of that $300 more to do that? Like, we get it, we're more expensive, but I'm not kicking this desk. You just saw what happened when I kicked this desk. I didn't spill a drop. So on that note, cheers. But there are some quirks about this. So there's some installation things, but probably my biggest hesitation when we go to sell our Vertex is one, I listen to somebody's like experience, you know, how much their willingness to, you know, assemble things, because there's some things like that. But the biggest quirk, we're gonna have Josh come over and explain it, is what I'm hoping might happen right now. When I go to do, after it's been sitting at a height for a long time, sometimes when you actuate it, like trust me, moved a little. Trust me, it just happened. It does like this little shake. And Josh will explain why it's doing that, but that's only after it's been sitting for a long time. So Josh, explain what I'm trying to explain, but I sound dumb.
So part of what causes that shake, well, really all of what causes that shake, is these columns that we have with the Vertex line are built super, super tight to one another. And what's really cool with this multicolor base that we have here is you can actually see we have the inner tube and then an outer tube. And in between these two tubes, there are glide pieces that rub on one another and have lubricant between them, right? Just like they have to. Over time, when you're up at a standing position, that lubricant will get forced away from the actual glide surfaces and it will kind of stick in that spot. And as you go down, the motors may not all be perfectly aligned with one another, or one column may take a little bit more pressure to start moving than the other columns take, and that's all it is. There's nothing wrong with the base. It's overcoming just that immense pressure that we have between those tubes that can be a little bit different, but all of that pressure is what gives the stability.
So yeah, you get like, if I do it now, it's not going to do it. If I do it now, it's not going to do it. But you just get that little slight, whatever. And some of you guys come to me and you go, I need perfect stability. I need all this stuff. And I'm a little bit hesitant to probably recommend the best thing for you because I'm worried about you spending $1,300, $1,400, $1,500 plus. And then you say, oh, I actuate my desk and it makes this noise and something's wrong. And it's like, it's hard to explain that. It's like nothing's wrong. It's just we make it. And we have such tight tolerances to make it as stable as it is. And one of the downsides to that is after it's been, at height for a long period of time, it might, on first use, make that little motion. It doesn't do that on our Apex series. I think it comes down to, again, what Josh said, the pressure, the Bosch motor in here. I think it has less teeth in the gear or something like that than the Apex one. So there's a little bit of slip, but nothing's wrong. And, I'm worried about the user experience of somebody accusing us of, them having a faulty base. I mean, my God, when we first switched people to the mini rail, which has the exact same stability as, so the mini rail, toe, come over here, undercarriage time. So at first, we were using full-length channels in the front. So this ran all the way across. But the issue was, some people, when they lowered it all the way, another downside, I guess, to the Vertex series is Logic Data uses old school ISP, so there's no gyros in here. And when you have such a rigid platform, it does have collision detection, but it's turned down super, super, super low. Because if you have it, turned up, there's so much pressure between all these columns, you can get false triggering. And as it moves down, it might not touch anything, but it might think it is, so it stops. So we purposely have this turned all the way down. And that way you don't get that false triggering. Jake, you want to get us some lights over there? So we don't get any false triggering, anything like that. But we switched to this mini J-Rail. And when we started shipping this out and not telling people, and the fact that we didn't change our renders on our screen, people thought we were like shorting them, like purposely like wanting them to fail or wanting them not to have a stable base. And it's like, that's the complete opposite. We did this because it gave you more leg room. We found out it was just as stable. And these mini rails, these 4, cost us more money than just the normal rails. So like everything we do, it's meant for our customer. It's meant for stability. Like we're not trying to pull a fast one on anyone. I mean, I would say this is trying to pull a fast one. Using someone's name and someone's brand, to get a high dollar when you're not getting high dollar performance. And unlike our Apex series, we actually have installation guides for this. So we spent a lot of time on this. We're working on our Apex one. Believe it or not, getting the words right and getting the line drawings right has taken way more time than it needs to, but that's just what it is. That's why we make our videos. So let's get into it. This is our Vertex, Vertex Apex. Our Vertex series is made 10 miles down the road from us. Our Apex series is made 40 miles down the road from us. Our Vertex series uses European motors, Bosch motors, and then Logic Data, European control boxes. Our Apex uses Asian motors, Asian control boxes, both Jai chain. Both of them have their perks. The the Apex series, for if we're talking straight 4-leg to 4-leg, it uses a 4-port control box, where our Vertex series uses 2 control boxes cascaded together. Because of this, the installation is not as straightforward. Because if you, on our Apex series, it's 1 control box you plug. It doesn't matter the order you plug in the motors. You know, this motor could be plugged in the M4 port, or it could be plugged in the M1 and it would work. Like, you know, you can do the same thing here, but what you have to remember is the control box with the switch plugged into it, when the first time you plug it in, has to get the power first. And the reason this happens is, or the reason you have to do this is, it assigns that control box as like the driver, and the second one as the slave. So when you plug that one in, it assigns it the driver. You plug that one in, and it's the slave, and you won't have any issues. But what happens is people, you know, they don't read the instructions, even though we have them on these. So I know we don't on our Apex, but we don't really need them. You know, they go to do some wire management. They unplug their stuff, and they don't know that this one was the control switch, and they plug it in the other one, and all of a sudden their base isn't working. And it's not like we have to do anything. There's a reset procedure that you have to go through, and it's another user experience thing, where it's like, this is a professional, you know, base. You know, our Apex manufacturer, they have a long history of the consumer market, where they build their product to, you know, consumer specs, kind of like what Herman Miller did with their base here. You know, they didn't opt for the most rigid design, because it's not the easiest installation. You know, this takes probably 3 times as long as this one takes, but the end result is, you know, this freaking tank. So, all right, control boxes, motors. Besides that, I mean, you know, it's a beefier thing. Like, if you look at the foot of our Vertex compared to our Apex, I mean, it's like double the size, twice as much material. So really the cost difference is, you know, a couple things. Bosch costs more money than Asian. Logic Data costs more money than Asian. The amount of metal used costs more money. And then the labor pool in Holland is more expensive than 40 miles away from here. So all those things translate to a more expensive base. What it doesn't translate to is an easier installation, because you're paying more. It doesn't translate to a plug and go and, you know, not have to worry about anything. But like this base is built for like the guys that really care about, you know, what they're working on. They have the tools, they have the understanding, because, you know, this manufacturer, 98%, if not more, of their business is to office, you know, or office spaces where, you know, companies are buying it and paying for professional installers to come in. So the tolerances on this whole base are extremely tight. And if you don't get something in right, or you're not willing to pull and push to get a screw in, that it's gonna be a pain in the butt. And so when you call me and you say, hey Chris, you know, I don't have much experience, I don't have a lot of tools, you know, yada yada, I mean, I'm gonna wanna push you to Apex, because I don't wanna get that call that you did something wrong, or you can't get something in, you're incredibly frustrated, you just spent $1,500, you're unhappy with me, and like, the truth is, it's just, there's nothing wrong with the base, it's just, you're not up to the level of installation, or the willingness to want to install it, or the knowledge of how to use tools, and that's fine. I mean, that's why we introduced our Apex series, or we've had all of them, and we have both, but our Vertex series, our Vertex Pro, and more importantly, actually our Vertex Diamond, definitely in the 60-inch version. I mean, the less width you go, you know, the less side to side you're gonna get. There's gonna be a little bit more side to side as you jump up to 72 in this. But our Apex Pro Max, especially the mid-range, if we're doing like, you know, equal, and we can still do that, it's just we discontinued it because people like the heights, or didn't discontinue it, we pulled it off our in-stock. They're gonna have almost the same, you know, stability side to side, but this one you don't have a crossbar. Man, I've rattled a lot. Josh, have I missed anything? Install.
Color options.
Ah, yes.
So many. Too many.
I would say there's too many color options. I mean, you can have almost 250 plus options, but what's nuts is your foot can be a different color. than this column. This column can be a different color than this and this. And this is going to be the same color as your foot, right? Basically.
Typically, yes.
Yeah. So let's just say you were, you know, a huge USA fan. You know, you could have this be white, or you could have this be red. You could have this be white, this be blue, and this would be red again. You're a Michigan State Spartan fan. You could have this be black, this be green, and this be white. And then that would be black, or you could have this green, white, and green and white. Like, you could, there's so much flexibility, which is Jake, get off your phone. Bespoke boy over here, Shoeless Jake, is gonna handle any bespoke requests you want. That we don't have those flexible options with our Apex series. And that's another important cost thing to, you know, to know. That while if you just want black, I'm not gonna say like a huge, but you're paying for that powder coat line that this manufacturer has, and the ability and the option to have all those colors. Even though you just want black, part of that price that they're charging us is for that whole powder coat facility. So again, a little bit of why. But at the end of the day, guys, I don't know, what is the Herman Miller Renew? Here's the other thing. I guess not, but like the Herman, nah, not even gonna go there. But Herman Miller Renew, what is that with the top? Like $2,000 bucks?
I think so. I can pull it up.
So Motia desk, don't buy this. Herman Miller Renew, which is probably the only Herman Miller desk I would recommend. The Nebby honestly sucks. Just don't buy it. Josh hate me for saying that. Don't buy it. The Renew, good option.
30 by 60, $2,500.
30 by 60?
30 by 60, $2,500.
So, for $2,500, you could get this right here. You know, that just the base is $1,400 bucks. $1,000, you know, it's not gonna quite get you a 30 by 60 solid wood top, but like we could do a plywood top with, you know, we could do something, we could do this. But this, I don't like the color combo. These were some extras today, but this right here, this is a Phoenix top, so you got that scratch resistance. You know, you can scratch it all up, and then you just take a magic eraser, and it kind of gets rid of all the scratches. My hands aren't a magic eraser, so you're gonna see scratches. And then this is your 30 millimeter Baltic birch with a reverse knife edge. Some people like this. Honestly, if I was to order this top, I would get a paddle switch, just because, you know, it's kind of recessed and you can't see it. Some people might like it's recessed and you can't see it. I'm starting to ramble, but you know, for $2,500, you could get this, or for $2,500, you could get a Herman Miller Renew, which I promise you at this height isn't gonna move as bad as this, but it's gonna move a whole hell of a lot more than what this moves. So happy Friday, guys. Go have a drink. Cheers.